Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. On behalf of ISKCON of Richmond, we welcome everyone to this weekly Saturday event. We are very, very fortunate that today we have His Grace Shankaranand Prabhu as our guest speaker. And we recently celebrated this wonderful Sri Ram Navami festival, and we are continuing Sri Ram consciousness by talking about Sri Hanumanji. So we will be celebrating Sri Hanumanji's appearance day this coming week. And, what would be better than, hearing the glorious pastimes and qualities of Sri Hanumanji. So, okay, I see Hare Krishna, Shankaranand Prabhuji, Danvat Pranam. We are very, very grateful that you kindly joined us and giving us your kind association. So most of the devotees on this call, they very well know our dear and respected Shankaranand Prabhu. But just in case, if you are new here on this conference, I would like to give a brief introduction. So His Grace Shankaranand Prabhu is a very senior Vaishnava practicing bhakti path for almost 3 decades. It's been, he's a very senior disciple of His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj. He joined the ashram, he joined the movement back in Chowpatty in early 90s. And since then, he's been, serving in so many wonderful ways. He served in Chowpatty Temple and also Meera Road Center in Mumbai. And Prabhu spent many, many years in New Vrindavan, developing that community. He was the congregational director over there. And Prabhu's talks are very, very insightful, deep. Prabhu has very deep understanding of our scriptures and very, very wonderfully present. It's so many devotees. Prabhu's been leading Srimad Bhagavatam classes, Bhagavad Gita, Chaitanya Charitamrita classes to many, many devotees. And they are getting nourished. So, and Prabhu's right now based in Sacramento, California with his family, and also inspiring and leading a beautiful congregation over there. So we are very, very happy and grateful, Prabhuji, you kindly agreed to come back to ISKCON Richmond Yatra and give us your valuable time and association. So thank you so very much. And without any further ado, I'll hand it over to you and take us to this beautiful pastimes and journey of Sri Hanumanji. Thank you very much. Prabhuji, you are still on mute.
Sorry. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Divanam, Prabhu, I am really grateful to you and all the devotees in Richmond, Virginia, for giving me an opportunity to serve all of you. It's always enlightening and inspiring to be in association of all of you. So we'll just get started in 1 minute. Om Jnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Chalakaya Chakshurun Malitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamishcha Sri Rupam Sagrajata Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Pada Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvita Mishram He Krishna Karuna Sindho Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacham Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. So it is my great fortune that I have received this opportunity to be in the association of all the devotees at Richmond, Virginia. Great poet Tulsidas has written beautiful stanzas in glorification of Hanuman. Jai Hanuman Jnana Gunasagar Jai Kapish Tribhuluka Ujagar Rama Duta Atulit Baladama Anjani Putra Pavana Sutanama. These are some of the attributes of Hanuman are being described in this beautiful stanza. Jai Hanuman Jnana Guna Sagar. Hanuman is described as an ocean of wisdom, jnana, and guna, the wonderful virtues or qualities. And this was actually very much exhibited throughout the life of Sri Hanumanji. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he told Sanatana Goswami that Yadyapi ho tumhi, Lord Chaitanya told Sanatana Goswami, although you are a perfect saintly person, but your behavior is such a great ornament. Because when a Vaishnavas, actually Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explained in this regard, there are people in this world who practice devotional service but do not behave very nicely. And there are people who behave nicely but do not practice devotional service. So a person who's practicing devotional service but doesn't behave very nicely, he actually becomes a bad example in the eyes of the world. Sets a very bad example for people in general. People think, oh, this is how the devotees of Lord are supposed to be. And a person who behaves nicely but doesn't have devotional service is practically useless. His life is useless. But there are very few who actually practice devotional service and behave in a very exemplary way. So Hanuman's whole life was so exemplary. So jnana doesn't mean only theoretical knowledge or book knowledge. Jnana means wisdom, a person who has actually practical wisdom of how to apply that jnana. For example, we know Romaharshan Sutta was so learned in the, so that Vyasadeva had actually made him the in-charge of all the Puranas. Now, if you go through all the 18 Puranas, there is so much wisdom in the Puranas given. So Romaharshan Sutta was expert in all the 18 Puranas. Yet, he had not developed the sensitivity or refinement of etiquette, how to apply that wisdom. But Hanuman's life is, exemplary. Therefore, it says Jnana Gunasagar. He doesn't have only wisdom, but he has all the virtues. The prime virtue of a Vaishnava especially is to be very sensitive and humble. These are the two things which actually make a person very dear in the eyes of Krishna. Maybe three things actually: to be humble, to be tolerant, and to be sensitive. And this we'll be discussing today's, discussion, how Hanuman actually exhibited at different times these qualities. So Jai Hanuman, Jnana Gunasagar. Jai Kapisha. Kapi means monkeys, and Isha means the Lord. So he's the Lord of monkeys. Although we know Sugriva was actually the Lord of all the monkeys, he was actually the king of all the Vanaras. But in true sense, Hanuman was the one who was truly the Kapisha. Because Hanuman had not only unparalleled strength, but he also had, wisdom. Because the person only has strength and doesn't have wisdom, he could actually lose everything. And Sugri could have lost everything, but it was only because of the good counsel in the form of Hanuman, which was present to him, that he was made into glorious. Of course, he also had his own, qualities and virtues, but because of the counsel of Hanuman, he was protected in so many instances. Jai Kapisha Tribhuloka Ujakar. He illuminates actually the three words. Ramadut, he's a messenger of Lord Ramachandra. This is one of the great and wonderful, we call name of Sri Hanuman, Ramadut, which has made Hanuman's glories expand like no other parallel in the history. No one has acted as the messenger of the Lord the way Hanuman has been. Not only he went as a messenger in the search of Mother Sita to Lanka, but he also communicated a very, very strong message to Ravana. And we'll be discussing in our forthcoming, discussion. Ramadut Atulit Baladhama. Tula means to compare, like we say Tula, the weighing scale. So Atulita means no comparison. You cannot compare anything. Atulita Bala. He has strength which is incomparable. He is a reservoir. Dhama means reservoir of incomparable strength. People have been, in the Western world, especially being very much fascinated by some imaginary characters that they create. One of them, they have Superman. But if you see the character of Superman, they have actually stolen all the ideas from the character of Hanuman. Hanuman is actually that Superman from the Vedas. Atulita Baladama. No one actually stands in front of Hanuman. No weaknesses. In the so-called hero of Superman, there are some weaknesses, but Hanuman has no weaknesses. Atulita Baladama. Anjani Putra. He is son of Anjana. His mother's name was Anjana. Pavanasta. He is also known as son of Vayudev, Pavandev. So these are the wonderful attributes of Lord Hanuman. And Hanuman, he is also regarded as one of the partial incarnations of Rudra, 11th incarnation of Lord Rudra. So Let's try to look into the wonderful life and activities and the lessons Lord Hanuman, gave through his beautiful life of service in the service of Sri Ramachandra. So it is explained that in Ayodhya, when the great king Dashrath, who was actually a great Rajarishi, and he had 3 queens, Kaushalya, Kaikeyi, and Sumitra. So, in spite of having the 3 queens, but he had no progeny, no children. So, with the help of Vasishta Muni and other sages, they performed a great sacrifice, Putreshti Yagya, by which they could have Maharaj Dashrath have a son, or fulfill the desire of having progeny. So at the end of the yajna, the payasam or the kheer was prepared, which was brought to Maharaj Dashrath to be given to the queens. But to great amazement, that moment when the kheer was given to Maharaj Dashrath, Garuda appeared on the side. And he scooped and took one portion of the payasam or sweet rice and flew away. He didn't take away all, but he took away a small portion of it and went away. And it was as if by the will of providence or destiny, he flew all the way to South India, to Kishkindanpuri, where the king of Vanaras, forgetting his name, father's name was, so the wife of that Vanara was Arjuni. She was very much desiring to have a son, and she was tapaswini as well. So Garuda dropped that prasad in the hands of Anjani. She ate that, and soon, by the power of that payasam, she actually became pregnant. And soon she delivered a beautiful Vanara, very, very powerful, and full of all the virtues. That was none other than Hanuman. So that was on the day of Hanuman Jayanti, which will be sometime next week. And Hanuman, though he was, a very small child, but he was very restless by nature. Very restless. And you can imagine, children are anyway restless, but monkeys are also considered restless. And monkey child, super restless. So his mother had shown him some mangoes, told him that whenever you feel hungry, you can eat these mangoes. So she showed him the mangoes, ripened mangoes. They are a little reddish or saffron in color. So that is ripened mango, then you can eat it. So one day he got up from the sleep and mother was not around. So he was feeling very hungry. It was early in the morning. And he looked in the eastern direction. There was sun rising. Through the branches of the tree, he could see sun was rising. And he thought, this is mango. So he leaped into the sky and started rushing towards the sun to eat, considering it to be a mango. Now, of course, no ordinary monkey can fly so high. He was a small baby, small child, baby monkey. And yet, he was flying right towards the sun with a great speed. No rocket, no spaceship required. He was simply flying towards the sun. And when Suryadev, he saw a monkey child is coming towards me to devour me, to eat me, he was so fearful. He immediately told Indra that please do something. This monkey is coming to devour me, to eat me. So Indra immediately took his thunderbolt and hurled at Hanuman, who was just a small baby. He hurled the thunderbolt and it hit on the chin of Hanuman. And that's how he actually got named Hanuman. Means one whose chin or whose jaw is broken. So it was broken by the thunderbolt of Indra. And Hanuman actually became unconscious and started falling from the sky. With great force, he was falling to the land. And Vayudev, Hanuman is regarded as Pavanasuta also. Because the Payasam was brought by Garuda through the wind, it came and it was delivered to Anjani, therefore he is also regarded as Vayusuta or Pavanasuta. So Vayudev actually grabbed Hanuman and he brought him to a cave. And Hanuman and Vayudev was very, very angry. Very angry at Indra's action of hurting Hanuman. So he brought Hanuman to the cave and by his strength, by his powers, he withdrew all the wind from the universe. So all the living entities throughout the universe started feeling suffocation because there was no wind. In modern times, we are taught completely atheistic ideas. If you see Weather Channel, they show you all atheistic ideas. Oh, low pressure is developing here, therefore the storm is developing here. No concept of some higher authorities or superior powers. And people are also so foolish in modern times that they don't even ask a question. They think that they are actually very advanced in science and technology, but they don't even ask basic common sense question. Okay, low pressure developed here, which is forming that storm. Who's causing the low pressure? I remember in our school days, when we used to go to school, if you wanted to develop a low pressure, even inside a small space, you have to use some machinery. You have to have an incubator, completely closed glass jar, and then use some machine to suck out all the air from there to develop low pressure. So to develop low pressure somewhere, somebody has to put an effort. It doesn't happen automatically. Only fools think that everything happens automatically. So Vayudev, he's in charge of all the wind. He withdrew all the wind and nobody could breathe. Devas were actually suffocating. They went to Lord Brahma, please do something. We are all dying. And Lord Brahma said, it's because Indra's offense to Hanuman. He has hurted this baby Vanar and Vayudev is very angry. So the only course is we all have to go there and bless the child. In this way, appease and pacify Vayudev. Then only everything will be restored back to normal. So all the demigods, headed by Brahma, along with Indra, Surya, everybody came there. And they started pleading to Vayudev, please, restore everything to normal and we will bless the child. So every demigod, all of the devas, they actually gave blessings to Hanuman. Brahmaji gave boon that none of the weapons will ever be able to harm Hanuman in any way. Surya, he actually agreed that he will give all the Vedic wisdom. He will personally teach Hanuman all the Vedic wisdom. Indra gave blessings, Yama gave blessings. All the demigods actually bestowed so many boons upon Hanuman. And Vayudev was naturally very pleased seeing the blessings on Hanuman. And he restored the things back to normal. Now Hanuman, because he received so many boons, he was naturally, very, very powerful Vanara. But because he was still a child, his restless nature popped up. And he started playing so much mischief. It was only mischief. It was not done out of any ill feelings or vengeance or the intention of causing harm to others. It was simply a mischief which is born out of the restless behavior of a child. Srila Prabhupada, when he saw some children in our ISKCON society, when some parent would say, Prabhupada, the child is very restless, Prabhupada said, this is a sign of intelligence. If the child is very mischievous, that means Prabhupada said he's very intelligent. So, because even to do mischief, you need some good wisdom, you need some intelligence. So Hanuman had such supernatural powers, he would simply go and trouble the sages. So troubling the sages doesn't mean that he was inimical towards them, but it was born out of his restless child behavior. So finally the sages, when they saw that his restless behavior was actually causing a lot of inconvenience to the sages, they decided that it's best in his interest for him to forget everything. Forget that he has all these boons. And till the appropriate time comes, somebody reminds him, all the powers will come back. Till the time he will forget everything. He will not be able to exhibit any of the powers. So after that, Hanuman actually became very meek and humble, a very sober child. So what is most important is actually to be able to handle the supernatural powers and strength. People in general, they lack this simple principle, which was very prominently practiced in the previous ages. A graphic example of this comes to my mind is people very much misunderstand the character of Dronacharya because of rejecting Ekalavya. Ekalavya was a Shabara. Shabara means a person who lives in forest and does the farming of pigs. So he belonged to Shabara caste. He was a forest dweller. He was killing pigs for his livelihood. Why such a person needs to have the knowledge and expertise in archery with celestial weapons? Why he needs that knowledge? The knowledge of archery, especially the kind of knowledge of Dhanurveda Dronacharya was giving, is meant for Kshatriya kings who are Raja Rishis, who utilize that expertise in protecting the citizens and subduing the evil forces, the demoniac forces who want to harm the society. They need that training and power. Why does a Shabara like Eklavya needs that power? So Dronacharya knew that Ekalavya is a Shabara. He doesn't have the intelligence. He may have ability to grasp a skill, but he doesn't have intelligence how to utilize that skill. Therefore, he rejected him. And when he later on saw that he has still developed the skills by simply observing him, he wanted to make sure that he should not be able to utilize the skill because he is lacking in the intelligence and wisdom. He will only misuse these skills to harm the human society, which sure enough Eklavya did. So Dronacharya could see that this boy, he would actually be a great harm to the society. And therefore he told him, give me your thumb. At least his skills would be greatly compromised and subdued. In spite of this, Eklavya was such a great nuisance. Lord Baladev had to personally kill him with his own hands. He joined the camp of Jarasandha, and it was such a torment to the Vaishnavas and Brahmanas. So that Baladev had to actually personally kill him. So Brahmanas were actually very thoughtful. If a person is given extraordinary skills and doesn't have wisdom how to use it, will end up in actually creating harm to the society. Of course, the Hanuman's character was full of virtues, so he couldn't use it for harming the society, but it was naturally required. The sages thought it was required for him for the time being to forget till the time he grows mature. So in this way, Hanuman was actually, forgot all his powers, and in this way his restless behavior was curbed. And as Suryadev had promised that he will give training and all the Vedic knowledge to Hanuman, he invited Hanuman later on to come and join his school. Now Suryadev runs his school right on his chariot, because you see, sun has to keep rotating 24/7, right? So Suryadev had his continuous school on his chariot. Many students were studying under him. Many great sages were reciting and studying the Veda under the guidance of Suryadev. But Suryadev put a condition to Hanuman that you will not be sitting with all the students. You will stand right in front of me. Now, in front of me means Suryadev is driving the chariot. He's sitting on the chariot. Aruna is driving the chariot, but he's sitting on the chariot, facing the front of the chariot. Hanuman has to face Suryadev and go in reverse, walk behind. Suryadev is, the speed of Surya is said to be 16,000 miles per second. In 1 second, Suryadev travels 16,000 miles approximately. So Hanuman has to walk or go in the retro motion facing towards Surya with that speed, and at the same time focus, concentrate on hearing what Suryadev is saying. Can you imagine going at the retro speed, looking in forward, but you're going behind at the speed of 16,000 miles per second, and hearing, grasping the subject matter? Hanuman was fully wrapped in attention. He never missed even one word coming out from the mouth of his guru. Very soon he actually mastered all the Vedic knowledge that was taught to him by Suryadev. And in this way, Hanuman actually became extremely dear and favorite disciple of Suryadev. And of course, in Vedic culture, a student is supposed to pay Guru Dakshina. So the fees, here there is a fees system every year or every month you have to pay the fees. There was no such system of paying fees to the Guru every month or every year. The fees were paid only at the conclusion of all the studies were over. And that fees was called Guru Dakshina. Whatever a student could afford and whatever the Guru would desire. Guru desires and his disciple can afford to give. That fees was paid. So at the end of the education of Hanuman, Suryadev actually told Hanuman, I want only one Guru Dakshina from you. I have 2 sons. They are born from my Teja. And they are born both in the Vanara family. Their names are Vali and Sugri, but for some reason they have become inimical towards each other. And Vali has driven away Sugri from taking away his wife and all his wealth and possessions, and he has driven him away from the kingdom. And he's constantly hungry for his blood, wants to finish him off. So my only request to you is please protect Sugri from the wrath of Vali. And Hanuman agreed. So as Guru Dakshina, he was obliged to protect Sugri. And he became actually one of the ministers of Sugri. So in this way, by the mercy of Suryadev, Sugriv actually became fortunate to have a wonderful companion, a wonderful minister in the form of Hanuman. So Sugriv was actually roaming in fear of Vali. The history is shortly given in that Valmiki Ramayana is explaining that that once it so happened that some demon challenged Vali. Vali and Sugriv were two brothers, very, very strong affection for each other. They were like, very loving and very much united with each other. So one time it so happened that a great demon challenged Vali. Now Vali was a great hero, a great warrior with a very hot temper. He couldn't, anyway accept any challenge and not respond to it. And how powerful he was. There's also description given that one time Ravana, when he was on Digvijay, he went to Kishkindapuri and he challenged the king of Kishkinda. That time Vali was the king of the Kishkinda. And the minister, they told him that Vali does Gayatri. He chants his 4 Gayatris in 4 directions. So right now he's gone in the southern direction to do his Gayatri. So if you want, you can go there. So Ravana couldn't resist. He wanted to challenge Vali that very moment because he had heard about Vali's powers. So Vali was sitting and he was actually standing and chanting Gayatri mantra in the south. Not he started from the west actually. He said Vali is gone in the west. So go there in the west, in the ocean shore. He's chanting his Gayatri there. So Ravana went in the west. Vali was standing and chanting Gayatri. He went from behind to capture Vali. But Vali was so alert. He realized Ravana is coming and he grabbed him like this. And he put him under his arm and continued to chant Gayatri. Just imagine, under the left arm of Ravana, under the left arm of Vali, the Ravana is held like this, like a small goat or some monkey. And Vali is chanting Gayatri. And Ravana is using all his might, all his strength to come out of the grip of Vali. But he couldn't. Vali continued to chant Gayatri. And then from there, he went to the north. From west, he went to the north to chant the second Gayatri. And Ravana is still under his armpit. And from north, after chanting Gayatri, he went to the east. And finally came to the south. And after coming to south, all this while, Ravana was under his grip, trying all his best to come out of the grip, but he couldn't. And after Vali reached to south and finished his Gayatri chanting, then he released Ravana. Insignificantly considering. Ravana understood, he was almost gasping for his life, he couldn't even breathe. He understood this Vali is great warrior. So he made friendship with Vali that time. So that's how powerful was Vali. So Sugri was actually, when this demon challenged Vali, Sugri told him that no need to, because this demon is, he had been defeated many times before you. So no need. Wali said, no, I have to. So this demon actually started running away out of, again, fear of Wali. He led the Wali to a cave. So Wali said, I'm going inside the cave. He told Sugriv, you stay here and guard the cave. So Sugriv was actually standing outside and Wali went inside. For many, many days, the war went on. And finally, the Sugriv saw the blood started coming out, like the river of blood started coming out from the cave. At the same time, he heard the roar of Wali. So he thought maybe Wali is killed. And this demon will be very powerful. If he killed Wali, means he can actually kill everyone of us. So he took a huge boulder, a stone, and covered the mouth of cave and returned home. He told everyone that Wali unfortunately died. So they coronated him as the king. In the meantime, Wali had actually killed the demon and somehow that came back. And he saw that Sugriv was king. So he became so angry, he thought that he purposefully had covered the mountain cave to kill me inside so that he can become the king. And because of this misunderstanding, Wali actually he bet so badly to Sugriv, he wanted to kill him. But he driven him, he said, because you're my brother, I'm just leaving you with your life. Just get away. If you ever come in front of me again, I will kill you. So this is how actually there was misunderstanding between Wali and Sugriv. So Sugriv was actually running, hiding from the Wali. The fear of Wali, he was hiding in different places. So he was living in the Matanga Rishi's ashram. Because one time Wali had come there and he had polluted the ashram of Matanga Rishi. So Matanga Rishi had cursed that if Wali ever comes within the 4 miles area of this ashram, he will die. So Sugriv knew this curse, that Wali could not come in the Matanga Rishi's ashram. So he was hiding in the Matanga Rishi's ashram. So somehow the events unfolded in Ayodhya. Kaikai asked the benediction for Ram to be banished to the forest for 14 years and Bharat to become the king. So Lord Ramachandra, along with Lakshman and mother Sita, he was, roaming in different forests. He lived in Chitrakoot for 12 or 13 years. And then they came to Panchavati, to Dandakaranya for the last 1 year of their exile. And that's where, when the events unfolded, there was the clash between Surpanka and Lakshman, and then Khardushan came to rescue Surpanka, and they all were killed. And then Surpanka went and inspired Ravana to kidnap Sita. So Sita was kidnapped by Ravana, and then Lord Ramchandra and Lakshman, they were searching for Sita everywhere. They were told by Jatayu that Ravana had kidnapped Sita. Only they had this piece of information. They didn't know where Ravana was. They knew that he had gone in southern direction. So Lord Ramachandra and Lakshman, they met one demon named Kabanda. And Kabanda, he was actually a great effulgent demigod before. But because he used to scare the sages in the forest, taking the disguise of a demon, very ferocious and ugly looking demon, he would disguise himself. He was a very beautiful demigod. See, sometimes people have very peculiar and crazy ways of enjoying. So though this person, he was a great demigod, he had such a beautiful bodily features, but he liked to scare everyone by taking a scary form. Because he had yogic siddhi, he could disguise himself. So one time when he was scaring some sage became very angry at him, and he said, "You rascal, you are trying to scare everyone in this ugly form. I curse you, you will maintain this ugly form. You will lose your demigod form and you will become demon like this one." So this demigod, he actually became so scared. He said, he fell at the feet of Sita, please forgive me. So the sage said, all right, when Lord Ram and Lakshman, they come, they will cut off your arms and they will kill you. Then you will revive your original form as a Deva. So another time, Indra, he had actually approached this demon and he was fighting with him because he was already, by curse of sage, he had become a demon. So Indra threw his thunderbolt at him. And by the dint of the thunderbolt, of course, he couldn't die at the hands of anyone other than Ram and Lakshman. So thunderbolt couldn't really kill him, but by the force of thunderbolt, his arms, his legs, his head, everything went inside his body. So he had no hands, no legs, no head. Then he pleaded to Indra that, you have done this to me. I can't eat anything. I can't do anything. How will I survive? Please be merciful to me. So Indra, he gave him the boon that, okay, you will live long, but you will have 2 long arms develop, which you can stretch up to miles. And right in his stomach, he created a mouth with his jaws. So this Kabanda was a very ugly looking demon. He had only one huge round kind of pumpkin shape. And within the stomach of the pumpkin, just like they create during Halloween, the teeth on the pumpkin, right? So he had similarly mouth in the middle of the belly, like a pumpkin demon. And he had long arms. He was catching all the animals and eating them. So Ram Lakshman, they came to the forest and he tried to capture them. And Ram Lakshman cut off his arm. Then he realized, oh, these must be Ram and Lakshman. So he actually told Ram Lakshman that if you burn me, then I will guide you to the person who will help you to retrieve Sita. He gave actually beautiful instructions. Though he's in the body of a demon, but he told Lord Ramchandra that you are in a distressful situation right now. Of course, Lord Ramchandra can never be in distress, but he was playing the role of a human being. And apparently his wife is kidnapped. So he is apparently in a distressful situation. So Kabanda told him, you are in a distressful situation. So Niti says, a distressful person should make friendship with another distressful person because they can help each other. So you help one distressful person and he will help you in return. So if you burn my body, and if I'm relieved from this form of demon, then I will tell you, I'll guide you to that person. So Ram and Lakshman, they actually, created the funeral fire for this demon in a pit of a mountain, and then they burned him. And when the body was burned, the beautiful form of this Deva came from this fire. And he told Ram and Lakshman that there's a Vanara. There's a great Vanara named Sugri. He's living with 4 of his ministers in a place near Pampa Sarovar. At the Rishyamukh mountain, he lives near Pampa Sarovar. So you go and make friendship with him. And he will definitely be able to help you to retrieve Sita from Ravana. So Ram and Lakshman, they came roaming to, Rishyamukh mountain. Now, Sugri was roaming along with Hanuman and other, ministers. Jamban was also one of them. And he saw Ram and Lakshman. So Sugri became so afraid. He thought maybe these 2 are the spy of Vali. So immediately ran to the Matanga Rishi's ashram because he knew, he's safe there. And he told Hanuman that you go and try to find out who these 2 are. And Hanuman actually advised in a very good way. He said, my dear Sugri, you should not be doubtful on everyone. As far as their appearance can look like they are spy of Sugri. But anyway, I will go. So Hanuman, he decided to go and meet Ram and Lakshman, but he thought, if I go as Vanara, they may not take me very seriously. So he disguised himself as one of the ascetic, a sage, kind of a Brahmana. So he came in presence of Rama and Lakshman, and he started glorifying Rama and Lakshman. Such beautiful glories came from the mouth of Hanuman. Hanuman was glorifying Rama and Lakshman for their appearance, for their attributes. And while glorifying, of course, his whole intention was to find out who these two people are. But because Hanuman is naturally a servant of Lord Ram, that is his constitutional position, he couldn't continue to be, hiding his identity. This is the simplicity of Hanuman. Hanuman's intention was to actually find out the identity of who these two persons are, but in the very presence of his Lord and Master, Lord Ram, he couldn't continue to hide or be kind of a spy of Sugriv. He revealed honestly his identity, who he was, that I am a minister of Sugriv and I have come here with the intention to find out who you two are. Please tell me who you are. Sugriv will intend to make friendship with you both. So Lord Ramchandra, when he heard first of all, the glorification that he had done of Ram and Lakshman, and then, giving his own introduction and describing, because Hanuman went on speaking for a very long time. When a person speaks for a very long time to unknown people, and if the subject matter is not strictly related to Krishna consciousness, then it's expected that invariably a person will commit mistakes in speech or speak some nonsense. Lord Ramchandra told Lakshman, just see at this saintly person. He spoke so many subject matters. He spoke about glorification. He spoke about his identity. He spoke about, our purpose of coming here. But his speech is so well controlled. He has not only been very polite and humble in his speech, but there was not even a single grammatical mistake in his speech. This means this person must be well versed in the Vedas and Vedangas. This person has to be having excellent knowledge of Sanskrit grammar. He has to have excellent knowledge of the Vedas. It's actually very interesting. Vidura, he tells Dhritarashtra in the Mahabharata. He says one should not attend an assembly or a meeting where there are no elderly people. And then Vidura says, who the elderly person? Elderly person doesn't mean a person who is aged by the number of years. The elderly person is one who is learned, who is actually truthful. And truth is not considered truth if it is not spoken according to the Vedic wisdom or Vedic knowledge. So in simple words, an elderly person is one who is learned in Vedas or Vedic wisdom. So therefore, Lord Ramchandra concluded, this person must be well versed in the Vedas. He must have the knowledge of Rig, Sam, and Yajur Veda. Because without the knowledge of these three Vedas, the person cannot be so well behaved and so well composed in his speech. Lord Ramchandra actually told Jabali Rishi in the forest. The Jabali Muni was arguing with Lord Ramchandra that your father is dead and gone, so why you are so much worried about keeping his promise? Who is connected with whom? We are not connected with anyone. Dasharatha is gone and dead, so you shouldn't worry about him. Now you have life in front of you. You should go and rule the kingdom of Ayodhya. That time Lord Ramchandra said to Jabali Muni, a person who gives up the behavior, who actually behaves not according to the Vedic injunctions, gives up the Vedas and behaves whimsically, that person's actions and opinions are thoroughly polluted. So in other words, a person who's atheistic, his actions and opinions are thoroughly polluted. An intelligent person will never accept that. You see, Srila Prabhupada, in the course of his preaching, he would never ever compromise if something was contrary to the Vedic teachings. So much so, when they were telecasting moon landing, the Americans were landing on the moon, Prabhupada is telling, this is not moon landing, this is bogus. Just imagine. Whole world was glorifying, wow, we have landing on the moon. The Americans have landed on the moon. And Prabhupada said, this is bogus. They cannot go to moon. Why? Because this doesn't corroborate from the Vedic version. According to Vedic version, humans, by their mechanical arrangements, cannot go to moon. They can create a drama of going to moon, but they cannot go to moon. The moon is a heavenly planet. So, Lord Ramchandra actually, glorified Hanuman. This must be very learned in the Vedas. And then Hanuman, of course, couldn't conceal himself. He revealed his identity as Vanar. And Lord Ramchandra, he became very pleased. And Lakshman told that we agree your proposal. We would like to make friendship with Sugri. We have come with that same intention only. So Hanuman, he assumed his real form of Vanar, and he expanded his form into huge form. And he carried Ram and Lakshman on his two shoulders. And he went to the Rishamukh mountain in the presence of Sugri. So when they came in the presence of Sugri, Sugri was, Hanuman explained the identity of Ram and Lakshman. And then Sugri, and when Sugri saw when Ram and Lakshman, they were in his cave, in his presence, he looked around, and because there was no furniture, there was no sitting place. So immediately he saw a solitary, which was filled with leaves and flowers. So he immediately went, grabbed a huge branch of solitary, broke it, and placed it in front of Lord Ramachandra. And he invited Lord Ramachandra to sit on that. And as soon as Lord Ramachandra sat on it, Sugri also sat next to him. So Sugri was not actually very respectful to Lord Ramachandra, but Lord Ramachandra didn't mind. But when Sugri sat down, Lord Ramachandra saw that Lakshmana was still standing. Sugri had not offered any seed to Lakshmana. And Lord Ramachandra did not like this. But Hanuman was very sensitive. You see, Sugri's behavior is behavior of a typical monkey. It's not very sophisticated or sensitive. But Hanuman was very sensitive. He was standing and he saw Lakshman standing, so he didn't like it. He immediately jumped, leaped into the tree, and he broke another branch which was filled with more flowers and very fragrant. That branch of solitary he broke and gave it to Lakshman to sit down. And just like Sugriva had sat next to Lord Ramchandra, Hanuman did not sit next to Lakshman. When Lakshman sat on that seat of solid branch, Hanuman sat near the feet of Lakshman. And Lord Ramchandra very much appreciated this behavior of Hanuman. So this is actually the real sign of a learned person. Learned person doesn't mean a person who's actually learned in the book knowledge. Hanuman was not only learned, but he was very respectful, very sensitive. He could see Lord Ramchandra not being pleased He could sense what was the reason of Lord Ramchandra not being pleased. He could sense that Lakshman deserved as a guru, as the Adi Guru, as a companion of Lord Ramchandra. He is the Adi Guru. One cannot approach the Supreme Lord without the mercy of the Guru. So Lakshmana is that Adi Guru. So Hanuman, offered due respect, proper respects to the Adi Guru, Sri Lakshmanji. And of course, later on, in the presence of Agni, Lord Ramchandra and Sugriv, they became friends. But Lord Ramchandra wanted to teach a lesson to Sugriv for being disrespectful to Lakshman. Because disrespect to Guru is not very much appreciated by the Supreme Lord. So Lord Ramchandra told Sugriv that you go and challenge Vali. So when they were challenged, Lord Ramchandra allowed Sugriv to be thoroughly beaten and humiliated at the hands of Vali. And of course, for the pastime's sake, Lord Ramchandra said that I'm sorry, I couldn't recognize because you two looked very much alike. But the real intention of Lord Ramchandra was he wanted to teach a lesson to Sugriv. Make him humble and respectful to Guru Tattva. And when Sugriv, realized his mistake, Lord Ramchandra put a garland, specific flower garland around his neck, and then, he shot at Vali and killed the Vali. And this way, Lord Ramchandra fulfilled the promise and made Sugriv into the king of Kishkinda. And then Sugriv naturally feel obliged and he told Lord Ramchandra that I will help you to find Sita, but only after the 4 months of monsoon are passed. So Sugriv, because he had lived a very austere life, running away from his brother and living in the caves and mountain in the forest, he had lived a very austere life. So as he became the king of Kishkinda, he started indulging in sense gratification like anything. He started enjoying the life like a king's son. Now, this is very natural for the behavior of a monkey. So the 4 months of monsoon season passed, and Sugriv was so immersed in sense enjoyment, he didn't even remember Ram or Lakshman or promise that he had given to them. As monsoon got over, every day was appearing to be like a year to Lord Ramchandra. So Lord Ramchandra, he was very angry at Sugriv, and Lakshman became so outrageous. He was ready to destroy Sugriv. He went in a very angry mood. And of course, Hanuman, he intervened there also and he protected Sugriv. He knew the Lakshman's temperament and he knew Lakshman can be pacified. What way? So he suggested, as a minister, he suggested to Sugriv to send Tara, which was the wife of Sugriv, and he said that she can go and pacify Lakshman. And Tara, with her wisdom, it's actually very interesting. Bhishma Dev says in Mahabharata that Guru of demons and Guru of Devas, that is Shukracharya and Brihaspati, they have learned all the diplomacy and political science simply by observing the behavior of a woman. The behavior of a woman is the best diplomacy and political school, according to Bhishma Dev. So Tara, she was very expert in that. So she came and she actually pacified Lakshman in a very beautiful word. She said, you should know that Sugriv is after all a monkey. And he was living a life of deprived for a long time. He had no sense enjoyment. He became just recently the king. So therefore he got carried away, but now he will be back in the action. So I assure you that. So in this way, Lakshmana was very much pacified. And, Hanuman, he actually told Sugriv that you should fulfill your promise now, employ all your army to find Mother Sita. So Sugriv formed 4 search parties sent in 4 directions. And Hanuman was sent into the southern direction in the leadership of Angad, who was actually son of Vali. And of course, Jamban also accompanied them. So before they were leaving, Lord Ramchandra somehow they knew. Of course, Lord Ramchandra is the omniscient personality of Godhead. So he knew that Hanuman is the one who is sincerely dedicated and his servant, eternal servant. So he actually gave the description of Mother Sita, how Mother Sita's form, her beauty, her character. Now, of course, Hanuman is a brahmachari. A brahmachari hearing the descriptions of the beauty and the form of a woman. Lord Ramchandra knew that Hanuman is actually a brahmachari, but he was describing the form of not an ordinary woman in this world. This is the goddess of fortune, Mother Sita. So Lord Ramchandra knew that there's nothing wrong, and Hanuman will it will not be breaking his celibacy in any way. So in this way, Lord Ramchandra gave him the description of Mother Sita, and he also gave his personal ring to Hanuman, that in case when he meets Mother Sita, he will have the ring of Lord Ramchandra to show that he is actually the servant of Lord Ram. So they go in the search parties. Hanuman goes in the southern direction along with the search party, and of course they meet with some yogini in the cave, because they were roaming for 1 month, but they couldn't find any trace of Sita. So they met some yogini, forgetting her name, but she actually gave them directions to Lanka. So finally, after getting refreshed in the cave and coming to the shore of Southern Ocean in India, that is Dhanush Tirtha. When they reached to Dhanush Tirtha, they saw the vast ocean in front of them. They had no idea, how to proceed further. They had known that there's 800 miles. It was 100 yojanas, 800 miles distance to Lanka. Of course, the distance between Lanka now is not that much, but as the time goes by, this happened in Treta Yuga. The time goes by, the geography changes of the earth. So the distance between Lanka and India was 800 miles at that time. So they were wondering who could actually take such a high leap and go to Lanka. Angad said, I have strength. I can go to Lanka, but I can go only one time. I cannot take another leap. I don't have ability to make 2 jumps of 800 miles. 1 jump I can make, but while coming back will be a problem. Jamban told, there was one time when he had circumambulated the universe 12 times. And especially Lord Vamandev, he had, broken the universe layer by taking 2 steps, taking up everything from Bali Maharaj. That time, Jamban had done the circumambulation of the whole universe 12 times. But Jamban said, I have grown too old. I cannot do now that anymore. I cannot even leave 800 miles. So they were wondering who can actually go to Lanka. And then everybody saw Hanuman was simply sitting in amazement, thinking, who can actually do it? Jamban realized this is the time when Hanuman needs to be reminded of his extraordinary powers and strength. So Jamban went and told Hanuman, Hanuman, do you remember you have all these bones? You can actually do it. Now see, this is actually so wonderful. When everybody realized that, all the monkeys, when they heard from Jamban that Hanuman actually has abilities, they all started reminding Hanuman, yes, Hanuman, you can do it. You can do it. You have the ability to do it. This is very unlike in the material world. In the material world, if somebody realizes there is some glorious thing that I cannot do, somebody else can do it, people try to somehow pull down the person, that he also should not be able to, she also should not be able to do it. If I can't do it, nobody else should be able to do it. But all the monkeys, they were so eager to remind Hanuman, let somebody do the service to Lord Ramachandra. Let him be a glorious. We will simply be assisting hands. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught in his teachings, Gopi Bhartru Pada Kamalayo Das Dasan Das. Our constitutional position is we aspire to be the servant of the servant of the servant of Krishna, who is the maintainer of the gopis. Not direct servant of Krishna, but to be the servant of the servant of the servant of Krishna. Prabhupada said 100 times servant. So the servant of the servant of the servant of the servant of the servant, 100 times you put servant, that many times you become glorious. That many times you become dear to Krishna, rather than being direct servant of Krishna. In fact, we know Srimati Radharani, who is directly serving Krishna, her consciousness is, I want to be the maid servant of these maid servants of Krishna. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami explains this in Chaitanya Charitamrita. The mood of Srimati Radharani is thinking, if some gopi can give happiness to Krishna, I don't mind, I will become the maid servant. I will do any menial service for that gopi if she can give pleasure to Krishna. This is the consciousness of Srimati Radhika. That's how she is very dear to Krishna. So a person who has this consciousness that I want to be servant of the servant of Krishna, that person becomes very, very dear to Krishna. So all the monkeys, they were very eager that let Hanuman be a glorious. He can go and find out whereabouts of Sita, and our whole search party will become glorious. So Hanuman, he immediately remembered, yes, I can actually do it. Just see my prowess. And Hanuman climbed onto Mahendra Parvat and increased his form into a huge size and leaped into the air. And all the monkeys saw Hanuman flying in the air, disappearing from their vision. So as Hanuman was, flying through the ocean, going to Lanka, Samudradev, he felt very much obliged. He saw, here is Hanuman, who is trying to do service to Lord Ramachandra. The only thing I can do is maybe do some service to Hanuman. So he told one of the mountains which was hidden in the ocean. The name of the mountain was Mainak. So he told Mainak, you please rise and offer some service to Hanuman. So to great amazement, when Hanuman is flying through the sky, the Mainak mountain appeared from the ocean, came up from the ocean. Now this Mainak was the mountain, long ago. The history is actually, the Vedas actually describe that in the beginning of creation, when the mountains were created, Brahma had created the mountains. Mountain had actually wings, they could fly in the air. But these mountains, having the wings, they had become so proud and at the same time so wicked. They would land in the middle of cities where people were actually living and crush so many human beings, innocent human beings and other creatures under them. So the demigods, they actually got very upset because human beings are unnecessarily being killed by these mountains. So they pleaded to Indra, and Indra decided to punish all the mountains. So he took the thunderbolt and went on a campaign of making all the mountains devoid of their wings. So with thunderbolt, he was going to each and every mountain on the surface of earth and cutting off their wings. So this Manak Parvat, Vayu got little, compassionate on. So with his blow, he pushed the Manak Parvat inside the ocean and hid him there so that Indra couldn't find him. And in this way, Manak was saved. His wings were not cut down. So Manak was feeling obliged to Vayudev, and therefore he wanted to serve Hanuman. And he also, under the instruction of Varun Dev, he also felt obliged to Varun Dev because Varun Dev had given him shelter in hiding. So he wanted to offer some service to Hanuman. He came up and with folded hands, he told Hanuman, Hanuman, please take some rest on my peaks. And Hanuman saw there were so many beautiful waterfalls and fruit trees and so much beautiful arrangement for him to rejuvenate himself. Hanuman said, I'm so grateful to you. I'm so thankful to you that you have, extended this invitation. But I am in the service of Lord Ram. Right now, I cannot take any rest. I will come back to you. I will definitely accept your hospitality, but not at this time. And as a token of gesture, he touched Manak Parvat and touched to his forehead. Not insulting Manak, but respecting Manak's desire. He accepted his hospitality. This shows another refinement in the character and behavior of Hanuman. He was very sensitive. Somebody is offering me service, I do not neglect that person. And then he continued to move further, and the demigods, they wanted to test Hanuman. So they told one of their wife of Kashyap Muni, her name is Simhika, she is the mother of Nagas. So they told her that you go and test Hanuman's humility and intelligence. So Simhika, she appeared from the middle of ocean, like in the form of a demon, demoness. And she appeared with a big mouth in front of Hanuman. She told Hanuman, I have been given benediction by Brahma. I can eat everything that comes this way. So Hanuman said, all right, you can eat me. And Hanuman increased his size. And Simhika increased her size and opening her mouth much bigger than Hanuman's size. And then Hanuman increased further his size. And Simhika increased her size and opened much bigger mouth. In this way, there was a competition between Hanuman and Simhika. And Simhika kept expanding her form. And all of a sudden, when her mouth was so huge, like a big cave, Hanuman reduces his size like a small mosquito, went inside her mouth, went to her belly, and immediately came out. And he told Simhika, see, I have kept the benediction of Brahma. You actually ate me. I went inside your belly and came out. So the benediction of Brahma is fulfilled, and I'm also alive. Please let me go to my mission. So Simhika became very happy. She said, Hanuman, you are very intelligent. If Hanuman wanted, he could have actually fought with Simhika and killed her, because she appeared in the form of demon. But because Hanuman is virtuous, he knows if somebody is coming with evil intention or somebody is coming with, some noble intention to test him. So he had no interest in fighting or competing with Simhika. When he was increasing his size, it was not in the mood of competing with Simhika. It was only in the mood of being humble, so that he could actually expand and then become so tiny and insignificant that he could go in the belly and come out. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in his prayers, he says, Thnadapi Sunichena. One should become more humbler than the blade of grass. It's actually very interesting. In my childhood, my father used to always tell me that we should be like a blade of grass. And he used to give example. He used to say, see, when the storm comes, when a windstorm comes, the big trees, the tall trees, because their trunks are so stiff, they cannot bend. Like a proud person, very strong standing. They will not bend. So if they don't bend, what happens when the storm comes? They are actually uprooted from that root itself. I don't know how many of you have seen, but I've seen when I used to live in New Vrindavan, so many storms will come, and many times we'll see the trees were uprooted. The roots have come out of the tree because the trunk is so strong, it cannot break by the winds. The whole tree is uprooted. And uprooted means dead, finished. But when the storm comes, not a single blade of grass is uprooted. Why? Because when the storm comes, the blade of grass simply bends down, sleeps practically on the ground. If somebody puts the foot on the grass bends down. That means there is no arrogance or pride. Hanuman was not competing with Simhika. His mood was practically in humility. So anyway, Simhika was very pleased. She said, Hanuman, I am so happy with your humility and wisdom, your intelligence. I bless you. You will be successful in your mission of finding Sita. So this is actually the net result of being humble. Humility attracts blessings. And then Hanuman, of course, proceeded further towards Lanka. And all of a sudden he realized his movement was seized. He couldn't move. He was stagnant in the sky. There was actually a demoness named Simhika. That Surasa. That the mother of Naga was Surasa, not Simhika, Surasa. So this Simhika was a demoness who was given benediction that she can seize anyone through the shadow. So she captured the shadow of Hanuman and started pulling him down to eat him. She actually ate Hanuman inside her mouth. Hanuman went inside his belly, and with his claws, with his nails, he ripped off the entire body, all the organs of Simhika, killed her completely, destroyed her, and came out and continued his journey to Lanka. So Simhika represents, jealous people who cannot tolerate other people rising in life. They want to pull them down by their jealous endeavors. They want to pull down others in life. There are two ways you can rise in life. One, you actually put effort to rise. Other is bring everyone else down below you. So Simhika represents people who like to pull everyone down. So they can be higher. But such people, they don't really flourish. They don't have satisfaction or happiness of life. So in this way, Hanuman continued his journey towards Lanka. And he did reach to Lanka. Now I think it's already 8:30 here, so it's 11:30, I believe, there. So we can stop here. We will continue from this point onwards in our next session. So if at this point of time anyone has any questions, you may ask. Or what is the program, Divanam Prabhu, whatever you think is appropriate.
Yes. First of all, thank you very much, Shankaranand Prabhu, for taking us back into the beautiful pages of Sri Valmiki Ramayana. It was such a beautiful narration, and how you narrate is just so enchanting. And also on the way you gave us lots of beautiful instructions, and beautiful qualities, and especially the sensitivity of Sri Hanumanji you stressed so beautifully. How Hanumanji was so sensitive toward others, in Lakshman's case, in case of the mountain, and so it was really nice. So thank you very much. So if we are if you're okay, then we can see if anyone has any question, and we can take a few questions. It's already 11:30 here, Eastern,
Sure.
but we can take a few questions. Thank you, Prabhuji. So, dear devotees, thank you for your participation. And at this point, if you have any question, you can please raise your hand, um, and then we'll take the questions in order. Okay. So I see the first raised hand is from Daya Sagar Prabhu. So Daya Sagar Prabhu, please go and unmute yourself and ask the question.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam, Jai Srila Prabhupada, such a wonderful class, Prabhuji. I have a couple of questions, Prabhuji. First thing is, when the care was given, you mentioned that Garuda took the prasad to Anjani Devi, and what is the source for that beautiful narration, Prabhuji? One. And the second question is, when rishis gave Lord Hanuman the curse that you will not find your strength until somebody makes you realize, how come Hanumanji can do the parikrama to Surya Dev? Because that is how you realize your strength, that he's running around and you're roaming around him and learning from him. One. And the second thing is, when Rama and Lakshmana came to Kishkinda, he raised his body to carry them on his shoulders. That's another uh, strength that he showed, or his power can be seen there. So, how can we see these in terms of Rishi's curse, Prabhuji? Those are the
Okay.
two questions. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Actually, the source of some of these pastimes are different Puranas, like Brahma Purana and other Puranas. These are spread in different locations, in different Puranas. So some devotees have compiled actually all the instances from different Puranas in the form of books, published. So there is one book, this I'll show you. This is the book, which is published by Tulsi Books from Mumbai Temple, Chopari Temple. So this has a lot of compilation from different sources like that. You can refer that if you want to. And as far as Hanuman exhibiting the powers, so all the benediction that were given to him, like he will not be affected by any weapons. These were the benedictions which he all forgot. Now you see, before even he got the benedictions, he could leap into the sky and go to capture Surya Dev, right? Thinking into a fruit. Those basic, abilities that he had, that were never forgotten. They were part of his personality. But the benediction that he got from the demigod, all of that he forgot. And as far as the details are concerned, how he could exhibit different abilities. These are, some small details. Like I remember Radha Govind Maharaj was telling once in the lecture that when we are hearing the Leelas of the Lord and his associates, technical details are actually not of that much importance. Like how is it that some powers of Hanuman are forgotten, some are not forgotten? These are technical details. Okay, by the mercy of the Lord, the devotee can remember something and can forget something, and by the by the will of the Lord to participate in the pastimes of the Lord appropriately. Okay. Now, Radha Maharaj give me an example, just like, somebody asked Maharaj this question. That Maharaj, Lord Hanuman was given the ring of Lord Ramchandra, the ring by Lord Ramchandra. So when he came to Lanka, he assumed a very tiny form of mosquito. So what happened to the ring? How could ring become small of size? Maharaj said, what kind of question is this? Maharaj was actually, he said, if Hanuman can reduce his size, can't he reduce the size of the ring? So when we go into the technicalities, we sometimes get confused. So as far as the Hanuman is concerned, exhibiting his certain powers, and some powers are forgotten, it's only to assist in the pastimes of Lord Ramchandra. Like, Srila Prabhupada mentions also, by the mercy of the Lord, a devotee may exhibit some extraordinary powers. Arjun could defeat the great warriors on the battlefield of Kurukshetra like Bhishma, Drona, Karna. He defeated all these great warriors. But when the need was not there, the Lord withdrew all the powers from Arjun, and Arjun was defeated in the hands of infidel cowherd boys. Later on, Arjun was defeated at the hands of few cowherd boys who were not great warriors. So it's by the mercy of the Lord and will of the Lord, a devotee may exhibit powers or he may forget his powers.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji. So just to see if anyone else. Okay, yeah, there are a couple more questions. So next question is from Hari Sankirtan Prabhu. Prabhu, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranams.
Hari Sankirtan Prabhu, Dandavat Pranams.
Happy anniversary, Prabhu.
Thank you.
Just so one question I had was that, so we have heard that Hanuman is an incarnation of, because yes, he has the potency of Vayu, he is also considered incarnation of Shiva because Tulsidas mentions that. But I mean, because of the story that because he also got that kheer, I mean, he has some potency of Vishnu, but we never talk about hearing about that part, like he's also some, like he has a potency of Vishnu. I mean, any specific reason for that?
Potency of Vishnu is, invested in any living entity by the will of the Lord. That's what we call as Shakti-avesh avatar, right? So yes, the Lord Vishnu's potency can be invested in any living entity by the will of the Lord. So Hanuman, of course, he is an eternal servant of Lord Ramchandra, and specifically to assist the Lord in his pastime, he was bestowed with, those Shakti, those powers, which are of course eternally there at the disposal of a devotee. So not sure if any specific aspect of that Shakti you are talking about, but throughout the pastimes of Hanuman, we see his extraordinary powers are exhibited. Now, the simple fact of leaping over the ocean to Lanka, this is actually Vishnu Shakti, is the power of Lord Vishnu. Lord Ramachandra, playing the role of human being, personally needed a bridge to go to Lanka. But Hanuman could simply leap, could fly to Lanka. Just imagine. Lord Ramchandra, he couldn't go to Lanka flying. He came back flying, through an airplane, Kubera's airplane. But going to Lanka, he needed a bridge. But Hanuman, he could exhibit the power. He could actually exhibit the Vishnu Shakti, simply leaping over the ocean of Southern Ocean and go to Lanka. And similarly, Hanuman had actually the power. He could burn the whole Lanka to ashes. He could kill one of the sons of Ravana during his visit in the search of Sita. He had power to humble practically Ravana and his entire army by burning the city of Lanka. This is Vishnu Shakti. So I don't know anything specific need to be discussed, but yes, Lord Hanuman actually exhibited all the powers of the Supreme Lord. by the mercy of Lord Ramchandra.
So yeah, just just to reverse the question, basically, like, so we know we call him as Vayuputra, or we call him like Tulsidas call him Shankar, Suvana Kesari Nandan, right? But we never call him like anything related to Vishnu. So is that because his role is as a servant of Vishnu? That's why we never like he's attacking servant of Ram. That's why it's never like nobody no acharya or anybody never like, because I was just thinking like, because Ram, Lakshman, Bharat, Shatrughan, I mean, although they are not dependent on that, in their incarnation is not dependent on anything, but like if you put it technical way, the mother ate the kheer and from there they came, right? And then similarly, Kesari, Anjana also got that kheer. I was thinking like whether that sort of relationship is there or not. In the range of Vishnu Tattva. Okay.
So I understood your question now. Hanuman is not a Vishnu Tattva. That we should remember. He had Vishnu Shakti, like a Shaktavish avatar could be invested with the Shakti of Lord. So Hanuman had Shakti, but he's not Vishnu Tattva. And Vishnu Tattva does not depend on any kheer to be administered to a woman for him to appear from that womb. Okay. Lord Vishnu is completely independent. He can appear as he likes. Sometime for the pastime's sake, he may do that. No. So, but that doesn't mean that anyone who takes that key and any child appearing through that key has to be Vishnu Tattva. No, there's no such law. Vishnu is Swarat. He is completely independent. So the Lord can appear as he likes. So he takes the excuse of the kheer being given to the three queens of Maharaj Dashrath. Doesn't mean the same kheer, if taken by anyone else, has to also give birth to incarnation of Vishnu. No, there's no such rule.
Okay, bro. Got it. Thank you, bro. Thank you.
Very good.
Wonderful.
Okay. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dhanvat pranams.
Very good.
Prabhuji, I had a question like Hanuman had so much power, and he was, like you said, he was always like a grass, like he was very humble. And then if we see in our life, we get little power and we get really boost up, and we just want to do everything, and we just want to be a limelight. And then on the other hand, you said that like on the other hand, if we have disagreements with anyone and you devotee, so both things are come together, we feel pride and we feel really bad. It shows that we are not humble. That's what the situation. So I asked many times from devotees that what should we do if we feel pride, or so they say you should offer it to your guru or seniors. But when it comes to practical, the time we try to remember Radharani or our guru, we want to give that praise to them, but it sometimes in our heart that's not really fully, we are just trying for externally, but inside we just feel happy. So how to deal with that situation, how to really feel internally that gratefulness Krishna and our guru are giving us.
Very nice question, Marti. Thank you so much. I think this is very practical question for all of us. And you see, before we start any recitation, like when we start Srimad Bhagavatam class, we chant Mangalacharan prayer, right? What is the purpose of Mangalacharan prayer? To mainly seek the blessings of Guru, Vaishnavacharyas, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Krishna. We are mainly seeking the blessings of all the Vaishnavas and the Supreme Lord. And throughout the discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam, when you are actually describing the pastime, you may feel nice, you may not feel nice, you may feel comfortable, you may not feel comfortable, that is secondary. But when you seek the blessings in the beginning, when you actually put a conscious endeavor for those few, couple of minutes, you are actually dedicating the results of your entire endeavor to the lotus feet of Guru, Vaishnavacharyas, Vaishnavas, and the Supreme Lord. So that 2 minutes meditation endeavor is actually very crucial. Mangalacharan is very, very crucial part of our dedication to Krishna and Vaishnavacharyas. Then, in the course of your service, you even feel sometimes proud, or sometimes you may get carried away here and there. Krishna will make sure that he brings you back. If we have, put a little endeavor at the beginning, to conscious endeavor to dedicate our fruits of our activities and karma to the Lord, Krishna will bring us back. So when we say yes, if somebody is praising me or praising, to the whole family, then even you may not close your eyes, but even within the back of your mind, for a moment, say Krishna, or remember the lotus feet of your Guru Maharaj and say, Maharaj, Gurudev, I'm offering this glory at your lotus feet. The only thing I aspire is to take dust from your feet. Like, for example, whenever we go to different places for giving class, sometimes we are given garland. Some places you are given Maha garland of the Lord, which is actually a great honor. Some places you are given the fresh garland. So fresh garland means the flowers which are not even offered to Krishna, you are given that garland. So what you're supposed to do? My personal practice has been, whenever you're offered a garland, I simply try to meditate and place the head along with the flower garland at the feet of Guru. That 1 second's dedication to the feet of Guru. Guru and Krishna take it very seriously. So if you do that, just 1 or 2 seconds meditation, Krishna makes sure that our intelligence is purified and all our actions will match to that dedication. So that meditation is actually very crucial. Even for a moment or two, whenever you are honored, whenever you are respected, whenever people glorify you, just remember the feet of your Guru, even for a moment, and dedicate everything to the feet of Guru and Krishna. And that will purify our intelligence. Surely it will. It may appear that, oh, I'm still getting carried away. Don't worry. You will be developing maturity and humility to deal with all the situations in life. So dedication, whatever we receive, honor and respect we receive, we dedicate at the feet of Guru and Krishna. Krishna will definitely make sure that we have appropriate intelligence. So when we read in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Mataha smriti jnanam apohanam cha. From me comes knowledge, forgetful and remembrance. It comes from Krishna. It comes appropriately in terms of our consciousness, what we aspire for. So if we aspire to dedicate everything to Guru and Krishna, the appropriate wisdom and knowledge comes. I hope that answers.
Yes, Prabhuji. And then on the other note, like if we feel insulted, or we feel hurt by someone, and then that moment also, it's hard to understand that situation, that why it's happening. So what should be the meditation at that point of time?
Well, that reminds me of the character of Dhruva Maharaj. In the Dhruva Maharaj character, it is described toward the end of that pastime. Shukdev Goswami says, Dhruva Maharaj exhausted his pious karma by enjoying the life, and he voluntarily did tapasya to exhaust his sinful activities. So, of course, Vaishnavas like Dhruva Maharaj don't have any sinful activity, but Shukdev Goswami still says that karma is exhausted in the form of enjoyment, and vikarma is exhausted in the form of distress, or taking voluntarily some tapasya. So say, for example, according to my karma, I'm destined to suffer, being hungry, deprived of food and water. So if you voluntarily follow Ekadashis, Nirjala Ekadashi, your karma is exhausted, right? It's voluntary inconvenience. So similarly, whenever by Krishna's arrangement, people come and praise us, know for sure that it's just exhaustion of some, karma, good karma you might have done. And sometimes people are, accusing or speaking some displeasing words to us. That is nothing but exhaustion of our Vikarma. We must have spoken some things to people to hurt them, and now somebody is coming and speaking to me. So actually, when you remember this simple principle, that actually in the whole life I'm exhausting my pious deeds, you will actually feel happy in the distress time. Wow, my debts are getting clear. You know, somebody is helping me to clear my debts of vikarma, all the bad deeds I have done in the past. You will not feel so happy during the happy time, but you will feel very happy during the distress times, if you just remember this one fact. And another thing we should always remember, which is actually very helpful in such situation, is when you are especially in situation where there are a lot of distress or pain being caused, know for sure that that situation is also temporary. It's not going to last forever. So these two things, they really help us, give us strength to face any situation in life. One, situation is temporary. Second, the distress that I'm going through is exhausting my negative balance, which is also crucial. If we want to go back home, back to Godhead, isn't it be nice that we don't ask Krishna, Krishna, forgive my karma? Of course, our karma is inexhaustible. Krishna has to forgive, in order for us to go back home, back to Godhead. But isn't it be good that Krishna, okay, let me exhaust all my vikarmas. No. Let me do not leave any hard feelings in anyone's heart. Let everyone be, on good note with me. This is very crucial. Srila Prabhupada actually mentions a gentleman is one who, at the time before leaving this world, begs forgiveness from everyone for whatever knowingly, unknowingly harm we may have caused to others. A gentleman begs forgiveness from everyone. Srila Prabhupada, during his final days, he was begging forgiveness from his God brothers. He said, I'm so sorry, I was proud, I was offending all of you. Prabhupada never offended anyone. But this is actually a good remembrance. Everything is temporary, it's not going to last forever. And secondly, this is exhausting my negative balance. So it's a good thing.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. It was
Truly, Prabhuji, what a wonderful, wonderful and practical solution you gave, in different situations. How should we meditate and what should we do? So thank you very much.
Jai Prabhu. Thank you so much, Divanam Prabhu, for giving me an opportunity. Once again, I'm very much indebted to all of you and all the devotees who are actually who have joined today's session. So thank you so much. And I will talk to all of you next Saturday.
Yes, that's right. We are eagerly looking for the part 2. So once again, our gratitude to all the devotees who have joined from Richmond, of course, and different yatras. And I see even some devotees joined from India. So we are very, very grateful. And then please join us next Saturday, same channel, same link, same password, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for the part 2. So thank you all very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Shankaranand Prabhu ki jai.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare
Thank you,
Krishna.
Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.